A reading from Zechariah chapter 5 verses 1 to 4. I looked again, and there before me was a flying scroll. He asked me, "What do you see?" I answered, "I see a flying scroll, 30 feet long and 15 feet wide." And he said to me, "This is the curse that is going out over the whole land. For according to what it says on one side, every thief will be banished, and according to what it says on the other, everyone who swears falsely will be banished. The Lord Almighty declares, I will send it out, and it will enter the house of the thief and the house of him who swears falsely by my name. It will remain in his house and destroy it, both its timbers and its stones." The people of Israel are back in the promised land. They're rebuilding the temple, the symbol of God's presence with his people. God dwelling, living amongst his people. But are they making light of his demands on them? So Zechariah is shown this sixth vision in this one night. He identifies what he sees. It's a flying scroll. So all will see it in Jerusalem and across the land. You could liken it perhaps to a banner flying from a tower. Notice the scroll is open. There's a message there to be conveyed for all to see. The size is odd. It's half as wide as it is long. It's large. But notice the size is exactly the same as the holy place, the sanctuary in the tabernacle, Exodus chapter 26. The implication being that the message, and as we'll see, the judgment, is determined by the standards of the sanctuary, by the standards of God. Because remember, we've said that it is God who symbolically dwells in the sanctuary. So it's the standards of God by which the people are to be judged. Verses 3 and 4, we get the interpretation of the vision. We're told it's a curse which is going out over the whole land. Why a curse? Well, they failed to keep their side of the covenant. Malachi chapter 3 verse 9, "You are a curse, your whole nation, because you are robbing me." Remember what we saw in Deuteronomy chapter 11. "See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse." The blessing, if you obey the commands of the Lord your God I am giving you today. The curse, if you disobey the commands of the Lord your God and turn from that I command you today by following other gods which you have not known. Again, Deuteronomy chapter 27 verses 12 and 13. So because they failed to keep their side of the covenant, they will be cursed. Now it's tempting to read these next two verses as being specific to those two particular commands, but they're more likely to be representative of the whole covenant obligations. Remember, theft comes in the second half of the Ten Commands, and that second half deals with social relationships. False swearing comes in the first half of the commands, and it deals with the behaviour expected towards God. The curse is imposed on those who break the demands of the covenant, whether that is in relation to other people within the community or in relation to God. The punishment is going to be severe. It will be so thorough that it will even destroy homes. We read about it in 1 Kings chapter 18 verse 38. "Then the fire of the Lord fell, burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones and the soil, and also licked up the water in the trench." There are to be no half measures. when it comes to God's judgment and wrath. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 33, the Lord's curse is on the house of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the righteous. So how does this apply to us? Well, first of all, the holiness of God should be seen in his people. Take a look at 1 Peter chapter 1 verses 14 to 16. As obedient children, do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. But just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. For it is written, be holy, because I am holy. So us today, we are expected to be holy, to not conform to what's going on in the world around us, the pressures of our world. The people of God here in Zechariah were busy rebuilding the temple, and so having God live amongst them, they had to ensure that all evil was eradicated from the land. Remember our last session, we're doing the same to draw more people into the body of Christ. Or we are the temple of the living God. As God has said, I will walk with them and walk among them. I will be their God, and they will be my people. So there's the same requirement of us today. All wickedness and evil should be expelled from amongst us. There is no place for it in the life of the Christian or in the life of the church. And God's wrath and his judgment on us and on the church will be as equally complete as it was to the people of God in Zechariah's time. A sombre warning today, the flying scroll.